Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about how to get a better score on your interview.
The interview portion of the pageant is one of the places where many contestants can improve the most. Since many of your fellow competitors do not focus enough here, a strong performance can really make you stand out. The interview can count for a large portion of your score and is your only chance to interact with the judges face to face. The interview is critical because judges will usually remember those that impressed them in the interview and look for them on stage. At the end, we are going to answer our most asked question. Should you shake hands with the judges before you interview? Stay tuned until the end for that. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like if you find it helpful. Here are 10 tips to help you win your pageant interview.
Alright, so the first tip is to remember that the judges are on your side and that they actually want you to do well.
Yes, and I think a lot of times you think to yourself, when you think of a judge, you're like, okay, this person's trying to get me to mess up or to trick me or trip me up somehow. They're really not. This is probably the only group of judges you'll ever meet that is cheering for you and wants you to do well, and they're setting you up for that. So come in confident and knowing that they're on your side.
Yes. The second one is to practice sitting, and this sounds like an easy thing, but in reality that is going to make you stand out from other people who have not practiced sitting.
Exactly.
And the way you're going to do this is by finding the chair with your legs and then sitting down elegantly and then sitting a little bit to the side with your hands in your lap. And by practicing sitting, we mean not just the sitting itself, by getting into and out of the chair gracefully. That is the tough part.
Correct. And that is hard to do. Oftentimes you're tall and your center of gravity is a lot higher, and so that makes it a lot more difficult, especially in heels in an interview, trying to come all the way down to a chair. I mean, they're not going to have a big bar stool up there for you to just lean up against. You're going to have to go down and sit in a regular height chair. So that's the trick there, is making sure that you practice with a chair at that height.
Third tip is to find out what type of interview style you'll be doing. There are two types. The round robin, where you'll be one-on-one with each judge, or a panel, where you'll be face-to-face with all the judges at once. And there's different things you need to prepare for both. So you need to know that.
Yes.
For the panel, you need to practice on talking louder because you're going to be farther away. And for the round robin, you need to focus more on your eye contact because you'll be one-on-one with them. The fourth tip is to practice making eye contact with someone that's sitting right across from you and holding that for an entire conversation.
Okay, yeah, and that is, that can be challenging sometimes because it's easy for us to get distracted, especially if you're, the judge has a particular feature that sticks out. So just think to yourself, each judge that you're sitting with, like you said in the round robin, just kind of focus in the same spot on their face each time for each one of them, and that's going to make it a lot easier to ignore all the other things.
Tip number 5 is to practice answering questions in only 30 seconds.
And you'd be amazed is what happens oftentimes is that you answer too quickly and it's not even up to 30 seconds. It's more like 5 or 10 seconds.
Yeah.
When you're talking, you think, oh, I've been talking forever. And then you look at the timer and you're like, oh, I've only been talking for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So you don't want your answers to be that quickly. You want them to be very succinct, but you also don't want to spend 10 seconds, and you also don't want to give them your life story in a minute. 30 seconds is a great time because it shows that you're knowledgeable in the subject that they're asking you about, and you're sharing enough of the information that's not too much.
So that's about 4 sentences. If you just have 4 sentences and then wrap it up and be done, because otherwise they're not going to get to all the questions that they wanted to ask you.
Right.
The 6th tip is that this is an interview, not a test. So you don't need to memorize your answers. It's a conversation.
It is, and I think that's a mistake oftentimes is you practice so much those interview questions that they can sound your answers can sound very rehearsed, very robotic, like you've been studying for, an English test or something. So just, let the responses kind of roll off naturally, because what they're looking for is the real you, and that's what you're sharing.
Tip number 7, practice your posture.
Yeah, speaking of which, we need to sit up, and not so pronounced that you're, arching your back, but make sure you're sitting up, because that does also display confidence, and that displays also interest in the conversation that you're staying with them. Once you start to slump, you show that you're tired, that you've lost interest, and that you just don't really care that much anymore. So make sure you're sitting up.
Tip number 8, don't overuse your hands. No wild hand motions.
I have to go back and watch this video, but I think I may have overused my hand.
Well, you're not in a pageant interview,
this
so that's
is
okay.
also true.
Tip number 9, don't be afraid to wear something other than blue or black.
This is true. Blue and black is kind of known for being more formal for like a business interview, things like that. This isn't, like we said, this isn't a business interview. Yes, it is obviously a serious thing and you should take it seriously, but it's okay to wear something a little more fun, a different color other than blue or black.
And so the most asked question that we get about pageant interview is, should I shake hands with the judges on the panel or not? And the overwhelming answer is no. You should not take the time to shake the hands. Now, it will vary from system to system, but for the most part, they do not want you to shake hands, because it is just seen as a waste of time and takes away from them being able to talk to you.
Right. Yeah, there is a time constraint on the whole process.
And so if you are in a situation where you are going to shake hands, you need to have a really good handshake. Because if you go up there and shake hands and it's a bad handshake or a really weak handshake, that's going to make you look worse than if you hadn't done it at all. So our advice is, don't shake hands if you don't know, and if you really aren't sure, ask, and they'll probably tell you. So we hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope this helps you raise your pageant interview score. If it did, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more videos.